Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about how to control those voices in your head. Yes, those voices, those ones that pull you back and hold you back and keep you from doing what you want to do in life. I'm going to give you some tools in this video that you can use each and every day to get rid of those thoughts in your head that are holding you back and to move forward in your life in a much greater way. All right, so you've got voices going on in your head that are driving you crazy. Sometimes you have really positive voices, sometimes you have really negative voices, and you get caught up in your head so much so that you get distracted and are struggling to stay focused on what you really want. I get it. I've been there too. I am there. I have thoughts all the time that just come from everywhere and can distract me. I have emotional experiences that pop up and these thoughts that then start coming and really drive me crazy from what I really want. I get distracted and sometimes get lost in my thoughts. So what do we do with those thoughts? How do you get rid of those negative thoughts that really pop up? Some of those really scary ones. Some of those thoughts about the past experiences that were unpleasant that keep coming up. How do we deal with that? Now, I'm going to share with you a few skills and techniques that I've learned from mentors and teachers throughout my life that has really helped me to get a hand up on these thoughts in my head. Now, there's a couple things that have really helped me. So first off, recognizing that you are not your thoughts. That you are not your thoughts. I am not my thoughts. That was a big deal for me because at times I would think that, I had this horrible thought, I must be a horrible person. That's not true. That's not true. There are thoughts that are going around us all the time. Thought is energy. There are thought waves. And so thoughts are bouncing around all the time. So sometimes we'll have thoughts come into our head that are just completely random. The first time I remember this happening is we had gone to a vacation to SeaWorld when I was maybe 8 years old and was excited, went to SeaWorld, and as a souvenir, my parents bought me a hat. I wanted this hat, and it had a shark on it, and it was teal colored, and I was really excited about that hat, and I loved the hat. And then we went out to the beach, and there was a pier, and we walked out on the pier, and I was standing there looking out at the ocean and just enjoying the experience. And then I had a thought pop into my head that said, throw your hat in the water. I was like, what? Why would I throw my hat in the water? That makes no sense. I love this hat, and I just got it. Why would I throw it in the water? And then in my mind, there was like an image that popped up of my hat floating in the water. And it scared me so that I actually took my hat off and hugged it to my chest because I was afraid my hat was going to blow off and fall into the water. Now, where did that thought come from? That's kind of interesting, that thought would come. And so what do you do with these thoughts when they come? So some of the techniques that I've learned is write it down. Write down the thoughts in your head, the negative thoughts. Write it down because getting it out of your head is the first step. In your head, the thoughts are huge and enormous and scary. But once you actually get it out on paper, it actually becomes much more doable, much more realistic, and isn't as scary. So you can write it down on a piece of paper, and then you can rip that paper up and throw it in the garbage. You can take that paper out back and burn it. So if it's a really, really scary thoughts, I like to burn them because then that just puts in my mind this idea of it's burning. And I get to burn those negative thoughts. But for me, ripping it up, throwing it away works as well. Another thing I like to do is when I put all those negative thoughts down on the paper, I'll crumple it up, and then I'll throw it as hard as I can against the wall because that expends some energy there. And then I'll pick it up and I'll throw it against the wall again and again and again, just again showing this is what I do with those negative thoughts. I get them out of my head, I wrinkle them up, and I throw them as hard as I can away from me. And it always helps me to feel really good to get that out in that way and to expend that energy throwing it. And then I'll take that crumpled up piece of paper and I'll rip it up to shreds and throw it in the garbage. And that serves me well. So I'd encourage you to try that yourself. Write it down on paper, burn it, wrinkle it up and throw it. Just get it out of your head. Another thing that I like to do is sometimes I'll take a crayon and I'll use that crayon to write out the negative thoughts that are in my head just on paper. And as I scribble and write those negative thoughts, I will do it so forcefully that crayon crumbles to pieces. And again, that just really works for me in helping to get that negative energy out of me. And it really helps me to feel a lot better. So those are some techniques on how to get rid of the negative thoughts. Other things you can do is talk to someone. Talk to someone who you can trust, who's in a good space, that is able to take this negative thoughts in an appropriate way and it won't bog them down. Okay, because it's important that when we have these negative thoughts, we don't just share them with anybody, right? It's important to put them in an appropriate place. So talk to someone, a mentor, a teacher, a friend who understands how the thought process works, and let them know, I'm not looking for you to take any of this. I'm looking to bounce some ideas off of you. And so here's what I've been feeling. And being able to share that with an appropriate person can be very helpful, because that person can then help you see what's really happening, that these thoughts are irrational or not really helpful, and then help you to put them in a safe place. Again, getting them out of you and then putting them in a safe place, which is not on other people. So negative thoughts. Talk with other people, write them down. There's lots of journaling that you can do. So there's a 5-paragraph journaling process that I like to use as well. And so if I'm having a negative thought or negative emotion on a certain thing, I will write down, I see that I'm feeling this way because, or I see that I'm having this thought because. So if I became defensive in a moment while I was at work, someone said something and then I took offense, I go, oh, that's good to know. And then I started to journal about it, about the thoughts that I had about that situation. So I see that I got defensive because. And then I'll just write whatever comes to mind until nothing comes. And then I'll pick up the pen, start again. I see that I was having this thought because, or I see that I was becoming defensive because. And then I'll write until nothing comes to mind. Then I'll pick up the pen, put it back down, start again. 5 paragraphs of this. And what's fascinating is I found that as I do so, usually something pops up that I needed to deal with. And as soon as I learn that, then I'm able to let it go. And it was an important lesson for me. And then I don't struggle with that thought anymore. And so thoughts are powerful. They're there for a reason. And they're there to teach us. And not all negative thoughts have to be allowed to just sit with us for a long period of time. Because we can look at that thought and then we can turn around. If that thought is serving you, great. If not, okay, thank you for sharing. You can leave. And what's next? Because I found not to resist the negative thoughts. Anytime that I've said to myself, oh, I can't think that thought, I can't think that thought, I can't think that thought, it usually just builds up stronger and stronger against me. And it doesn't help to tell myself not to think about that. Of course I can think about that. I can think about doing that thing that I don't want to do, because as I look at the outcomes and I project myself into the future, that helps me to see the options and what might happen. I'm accepting that dark side, which is okay, because then I'm able to let it go. So as the negative thought comes, I say, okay, yeah, I could do that. What would happen? And then I look, what would happen? And we look at the things, I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't really want to do that, but thanks for coming. And then that thought goes away. So that might be beneficial for you to try. As the thought comes, instead of resisting it, because as you've heard, that which you resist persists, allow it to come in, accept it, look at it, and is that really something you want to do? If not, okay, thank you for coming. You can go, and let it go. And I found that as I do that, the negative thoughts aren't as forceful. They come, and that's okay, and they leave, and that's okay. And then those positive thoughts that come, as I deal with them, I'm like, do I want to do that? Yes. And then I can act on that. I don't have to control all the thoughts that I have. You have so many thoughts every single day, it's impossible to control all of your thoughts. It's impossible to control all of your thoughts. But consciously, we can choose to act on it or not. And so when a thought comes in, remember, that doesn't mean you're a horrible person for having that thought. It's a thought. Allow the thought to take place, accept it for what it is, play it out. Is that really what you want to do? If not, let it go. If it is, you can act on it. If it's a dark, negative thought that just keeps coming and isn't leaving, even as you played around with this, write it down, rip it up, burn it, get rid of it. Talk to a friend, if necessary, a mentor, a coach, a therapist, someone that can help you, especially if it's thoughts dealing with past traumas and past pains that need to be dealt with. Having a professional help you in that situation is very important because they know how techniques and things on how to help with the healing process so that those thoughts that are coming up can be released in an appropriate way. So those are a few skills that you can use. Hopefully you found that beneficial. If you did, go ahead and share this with a friend. You can like it and comment below and which techniques you found to be beneficial for you. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you for being here. And I'm glad that you've been with me for this period of time, that I've been able to share with you these wonderful skills that have been so beneficial in my life. I invite you to practice the skills and then come back and comment below on what you found to be beneficial for you and share this content with others. I'll see you again soon.